Okay. So she didn't.
Hello, Savannah. Hello, Savannah, and welcome to another edition of Candily Kesha. Tonight, I am joined by Alderwoman Bernetta Lanier of the 1st District with some residents of Ogeecheeton. We are going to jump in and hear a little bit about what's going on, and more specifically about related to environmental pollution in the area, as well as some unique maneuvering on behalf of our great city of. We're going to drill down into those issues, but I want to bring your attention to the agenda where we had our December council meeting, and we have one more meeting left. We hope that you all will be tuning into that. But if you go to the City of Savannah website and click on the clerks tab, the Savannah Clerk of Council tab, that will lead you to a list of dates and times, which essentially is our council meeting schedule. And there you will see the regular scheduled meeting for Thursday, December 8th at 2:00. That meeting actually started with a workshop, however, which was at 11:00, Alderwoman Lanier?
At noon, yeah.
12 noon. The meetings are moving target, so forgive me. On that workshop agenda, we discussed impact fees, an impact fee presentation that still is not settled to date. We have a few issues to iron out with that, as well as the parklet ordinance, which many restaurants and businesses in the downtown corridor, downtown Midtown, will be most impacted by this, if you want to call it an opportunity. So we want you to pay attention, go back and look at that meeting and look at what the City of Savannah is rolling out in terms of a new offering to local restaurants. Speaking of local restaurants, I'm so excited to announce that we will again be hosting our third annual Kwanzaa Crawl. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that later in the week. We'll go live from some area where we will be featuring some of our Black-owned restaurants in our city during this cultural event that we're having. But specific to the agenda, we wanted to bring your attention to contract, what I like to consider legacy contracting. We, in this particular agenda, awarded one vendor contractor in the name of Johnson and Lutz almost $19 million for three projects. $19 million for three projects to one vendor. I don't know about you, Alderwoman Lanier, but we actually received a letter of complaint from another vendor who acknowledged that they were essentially tired of being left out of the process, whereby they are not able to come to the table. What you all should know more specifically is that this particular company was handpicked by our purchasing department in one regard, where a supposed emergency purchase for nearly or for over $500,000 was awarded. I believe the other one was about 7 million and a couple million for another. So pay attention to this agenda. We get a lot of critique and harsh criticism because of our line of questioning. And what we want to acknowledge to the citizens of Savannah, who those in particular who watch via Facebook Live, we want you to know that when we're asking the questions, make no mistake about it. Almost 95% of the time, we know the answer or we know we've been told. Our line of questioning is our way of educating the public as well as informing the public as to what their tax dollars are being spent on. Because if we do not pause or do what we call pull these items, we can approve these requests in one full sweep without any questions and without anyone knowing exactly where the money is being spent. We also had a handful of projects where the funds are coming from our general budget for construction projects. And we find that quite problematic when we have lots of questions still swirling around old SPLOST dollars that have not been spent. And so we want you to recognize we intend to continuously do due diligence by way of not being a rubber stamp, particularly a rubber stamp for the establishment, but more importantly, we will continue to pose those questions and hold accountable individuals who are responsible for administering these funds. I'll come back in the end and tell you a little bit more about what else happened at the meeting. But I want to just jump right in here. Alderwoman Lanier, thank you for tuning in to talk about these issues that are happening in Ogeecheeton, which is one of our older, most established neighborhoods in this city. And there's a lot of pride there. Mr. Law, tell us a little bit about Ogeecheeton. How long have you been there? What are you most proud of? And what is Ogeecheeton known for?
Well, one of the things is, well, I grew up in Ogeecheeton myself. I raised up in there myself over 71 years. My mother and my father, was back in 1926. They was raised up in Ogeecheeton in 1926. And my grandmother, Eloise, she was, I don't know how long she was there. I know she died at 103, and she was in Ogeecheeton. So we had a long history. And the community was there in 1910. That's when it existed, in 1910.
Okay, and Mr. Law, tell me this. Can you let the audience know the borders or the geographic location of Ogeecheeton here in Savannah?
Well, it starts. It used to be a dairy back doing before they started the community. I mean, it was a dairy. Well, it was Cloverdale and Ogeecheeton. All of that, and Tremont Park. All of that was combined together, and all of them was sort of together in a
Same area.
and all of them was together.
Okay, so listen, I want to throw it over to Miss Law a little bit here because we received a call from you all. You serve as the president of the Ogeecheeton Neighborhood Association, and I first met you shortly after I decided to run for public office and became a little bit more knowledgeable of Ogeecheeton and some of the. I had the privilege of meeting the most senior Mrs. Law previous to her passing, which was quite a humbling experience to be in her home. And as I was leaving there, Mr. Law took the opportunity to tell me a little bit about some of the issues, everything from a neglected playground to the environmental invasion of some of the industry going on in the community that's been there for decades, in addition to to include noise pollution, air pollution, and basically attributed some of the illnesses that individuals have, and actually succumbed to this environmental pollution. So fast forward, there came an opportunity whereby the residents went to the zoning board to hear the petition of a business owner who essentially purchased an old business that dissolved. And in order for this new business to establish itself, they had to go before the zoning board. And the residents of Ogeecheeton pretty much saw this as an opportunity to say, you know what, we're going to take back our community. No more are we allowing these type of businesses to come and have carte blanche of our community. We want better. And so this business is not something we would like to have here. And we have some more pieces that Alderwoman Lanier could express a little more articulately in terms of what the issues really were and what codes and violations you foresaw. But you called on the Alderwomen, myself, Alderwoman Blakely, and Lanier to join you at that meeting. And it was a great day. It was a day of victory for the community because finally, some board of authority in our community listened to the residents, listened to the voices of the residents, and they decided that on that day, they would deny the request. Robert McCorkle was the attorney for the petitioner, and it was a block company. And I want to give all of that background to say this business actually started to operate without a license or a permit for that business. They started to continue the same line of work, actually in a worse way than the previous owners, without permission, essentially. That was reported to the city. There was a long process before that activity paused or stopped, only to have it start back again. Residents made calls to your alderwomen as well as to code compliance, and they were cited. And as a result of that citation, it resulted in a court hearing that was supposed to take place last week, and that didn't happen. Am I correct with that backdrop?
You are absolutely correct. As
Okay.
a matter of fact,
There, Ms. Law, and take us through. You all are ready for your day in court.
okay, the day came, we were prepared, and then I got a call from a city official indicating that the assistant city attorney had contacted her and said the court date has been moved to January 15th. We were prepared. We were ready to be there
So court,
because
not only were you ready to be there, you were probably on your way because court was at 2 and you got that call around just before 1.
I don't remember exactly what time. It may have been somewhat before 1, but I know we were all pretty much on the way, only to find out that the McCorkle, the attorney McCorkle, and the city assistant city attorney had come together and decided that this is what would happen. That was okay. But then the very next day, or earlier that day, I sent them a letter. I sent it to all of the city officials and pretty much some of the residents in the community, expressing to them that we went to we went before the MPC, who denied them a license. Now somebody goes behind our back and decides that they were cited. They were cited to go to court for their violations. Yeah, they were cited twice. I know they were cited twice. So they were to go to court. They never even went to court in order to confront these violations, which they are currently still violating. So I sent a letter to Mr. Bates, letting him know that we were unpleased with the way they had underhandedly handled this. We don't even want them in our community because they're bad neighbors. We don't like the pollution. And even though they issued them a license, what disturbs me is that they knew they were still in violation when they issued the license. I have a copy of a map that I acquired today. They only have a small portion that's industrial, but yet the map shows cars all over the residential area. So they are still in violation right now.
Mm-hmm. So, Ms. Law, I got cut off, but I think it's very important that I'm sure you articulated essentially what your experience was between receiving notice of court date and the court date canceling. I know you all called me about an hour before court because I was on my way.
Correct.
And when it was canceled, you sent an email said to learn only a few hours prior to court that Savannah Auto X, located at 2819 Ogeechee Road, is again requesting to move their court date back. We are outraged. We are furious because what you are saying to us in essence is we do not matter and we should sit back and allow this company to continue doing what they have been doing, which is operating without a license. This business is bringing dangerous fumes and chemical emissions into the community, and we want this to cease and stop. We are already dealing with hazardous chemicals from Clark's Block Company, which you are very much aware of. Further, we are just outright disgusted and tired. It is only fair to us that since we have allowed this company's attorney to push the date back to January 8th, 2023, that you force them to stop operating. And you thank them for the immediate attention to this matter. You sent this to me, all the alderwomen, as along with the city attorney and the mayor. And the mayor's response was to the attorney and the city manager to advise of the status for the law. And very shortly after that email went to advise of the status for the laws, that's when we got the notice that there essentially was a license in place.
Exactly.
They had secured a license. And so, Alderwoman, the correspondence, and I love you, Ms. Law. It gives my heart great joy, it gives my heart great joy because you all are doing what we have been advocating for citizens. You're standing up, you're speaking out, and you're speaking up for yourself. you are taking control of your neighborhoods and you're making demands of this local government. You say, Mr. Bates, this is to advise that the residents of the Ogeecheeton community want you to know that this underhanded behavior between the city government and auto export company is unacceptable to us as tax-paying citizens for the following reason. And this is where I want you to come in, Alderwoman Lanier, and just paint the picture of how this is essentially a continuation of what we see happening in the first district as well as in our West Chatham area. Number one, MPC had a hearing to rezone the area where this business is located in our community on September 22nd, 2022. They were denied. Now you have issued them a business license knowing they are in violation because they are currently and have been infringed upon the residential portion way before this business changed hands. You check maps for yourself and you will find that they are in violation and they need to be shut down. Some of those violations, just to mention a few, include usage and conduct infractions that affect the safety of public and transportation in the area due to expanding of the roadway. They have, number two, they have recklessly been operating without a business license and you never penalize them. They should be fined daily and not allowed to operate because they will never be clients. And right there, Alderwoman, immediately comes to mind how infractions, violations, and citations have been given to other businesses that we know of. Threats have been given to other businesses that we know of who haven't done remotely anything close to what these people are doing. Number three, we feel the city leadership team is treating the Ogeecheeton residents in a discriminatory and selective basis of business owners over Black property owners. Number four, the city government is in conflict with the zoning that was opposed by MPC. That shouldn't have changed. The DOT has road widening rules and road improvement to the road traffic and usage on the stretch of the highway. We're not going to even mention how y'all's sign was destroyed without notice.
That's
and
right.
We are being taken advantage of, disrespected, and mistreated because this is a Black community. Given that this business all of a sudden has favorable treatment, and we are being bullied. Alderwoman Lanier.
Yes, ma'am.
Just weigh in here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and good evening to everyone. I just need for your audience to know, Alderwoman, that there is a constant allowance of environmental injustice when it comes to historic West Side neighborhoods that are inhabited by African Americans. If just based on our history and the history of these neighborhoods, they lend themselves to disparity. And I'm saying an allowance because these residents in these neighborhoods have been crying out for decades for relief to these environmental threats. Now, when it comes to Ogeecheeton, we're looking at two issues that Ogeecheeton is suffering from right now, and these threats make our neighborhoods weaker and weaker. So on the west of Ogeecheeton is the Clark Block Company, and with their plethora of issues and their negative impact on that community. And just east of abutting Ogeecheeton is this car vehicle recycling company. But tonight we're talking about this company because of what we just witnessed with how they got a pass and a business certificate to operate when they were already cited several times for operating without a business certificate. And on the day of court, they received one miraculously. And we don't know how that happened, but that's the way things happen. But this is two issues with this company. They were operating on a footprint where the zoning was partially industrial and partially residential. And most of the operation was going on the residential piece. Now, I witnessed this personally, and I'm sure Ms. Johnny May and Mr. Law could attest to this. In the past, when we have been doing community planning with MPC and with city employees, when they come out and sit through and facilitate our planning, it was always said that because of these improperly zoned or these incompatible industrial lots, when the property changes hands, we just can't go in and take these businesses and take their businesses. But when they change hands, we can rezone them at that time in order to, for the safety and the health, for the health and safety of these communities. Well, that was said in the Hudson Hill example. That was said whenever we talked about these communities and these environmental intrusion situations. So now this company changed hands, and nothing was mentioned about an opportunity to rezone the property, that it would be compatible with the majority of the area that is residential. So this other company come in and they're operating under the license or the certificate of the previous owner. And where does that happen? Where can I go and start a new business and operate, and I'm going to just operate under the old owner's license? But this is what was going on, and several times they were served by the city to cease operations. And that happened, and we went to the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals. They were told they could not operate on the residential portion. And so now on the day of going, they continued to operate. And then when we go back to court, when their day of court arrives, we get a call like an hour out and say that they received their business certificate. So we just don't really have the resources and the manpower, the legal wherewithal to fight these people who, and this is what they do all day in these offices. And so here again, this community was done an injustice by allowing this business to continue to operate. So this situation is bigger than Ogeecheeton. It's bigger because all of these West Side neighborhoods from Hudson Hill, from the river to Ogeechee Road, all 10 of those neighborhoods in between suffer from some type of environmental injustice. And if you just follow these railroad tracks through the West Side, you'll see a pattern of smoke, water, noise pollution, and it's increasing with the growth of the port, with it, and all of these businesses, they more or less service the port, or they grow as the industries grow in the area. And we like the growth. It's good, but it's not being managed well, and it's not being done in a public health lens where we are considering the people first. So this is our battle right now: is industrial intrusion, is zoning that was created to separate and segregate people. Again, we have a zoning problem that's hurting a historic African American community, and we do not get any help from the powers that be.
Speaking of the powers that be, Alderwoman Lanier, when I think about this problem, when I think about my first engagement with Mr. Law, when he first introduced the issues in and around Ogeecheeton, I think about who was in power and who was in office during this time. Like, on whose watch did all of this environmental pollution happen on?
Well,
so we say, and I appreciate how passionate you were in your letter, Ms. Law, and I appreciate how direct you were when it comes to what you feel like is happening to this community, because it's a Black community. And I want to say that wholeheartedly, I fully agree. But I have also been serving as Alderwoman at Large for the entire city of Savannah. I'm often tapped by communities outside of our city for assistance to lend a voice to their issues. And the West Chatham Advocacy Group reached out to me some months ago about similar issues related to property grabs, as well as environmental pollution, traffic, the need for traffic calming measures, the landfill, and the like. And I see from where I'm sitting are also closely matched with elitism, classism, and for those who are in power to continue to take it all. And so when I think about that, the other thing that comes to mind, Alderwoman Lanier, in as much as this is adversely affecting African American communities, the sad part about it is it's happening on the watch of African American leaders. It was established on the watch of African American leaders. Our current mayor was the representative of this district for 16 years. If there was advocacy for 16 years and you've now been the mayor for almost 4, what is it that you would, in all of your power and grandeur, make sure that this community is not getting, or make sure that they get what it is that they need? Alderwoman Lanier, am I missing something here?
Well, no, I think we have to have the political will to make sure that people are first. Um, and that's we haven't done a good job of doing that. And this is, you know, we put more focus on the profit than people. And so we all said that we were about the people time, the people this, the people that, but our policies and the way we have approached these continuous problems have not been nothing has been done differently, and we really just ignored these massive problems, and people are dying. This is a life and death problem of this of air and all of these toxins that these communities have to deal with. And these industries continue to grow, and they have all of these federal and state and local protections, but the people don't have any protections.
And to
We're
that,
not missing anything.
Alderwoman mentioned that people are dying, people are sick. Can you go through and tell us some of the illnesses and diseases that you have been cognizant of that's happening in the Ogeecheeton community?
There are a number of people who are on oxygen. There are a number of people who have died on oxygen. There are a number of people who have died from cancer. That block company, you know, a while back, they came in, the city brought in somebody, the health department. Is that right, Ricky? They brought in
Right.
the health department.
Right.
And for some reason, the health department declared that there was no issue there. That's why they left it alone. They moved on because they went and they talked with this man who owns Clock Block. Whatever was said, I don't know. They came and they tried to set up something in the church where they were taking people's blood pressure. We didn't need anybody to take our blood pressure. You know, what we need is for this company to be gone. So they would pacify us with little things and think we would forget about it. But it's impossible to forget about because people are currently dying every day and they're on oxygen. They have respiratory problems. Even if they're not on oxygen, they have asthma. There's all kind of stuff going on in Ogeecheeton.
Tremont Park and Cloverdale.
Tremont Park and Cloverdale as well.
And it goes all the way through Carver, through Woodville, through Hudson Hill. So if you follow those railroad tracks from the river on back through the west side, then you'll see a pattern of industrial intrusion of dirty industry, and a pattern of people, even folks who have never smoked a cigarette, that they're having respiratory and bronchial type problems and succumbing to these problems. But there is no tracking that we need, because we know these people. We've known them for decades, and we see people passing away. But we need a way to track these people. And I'm sure if we were to map the deaths and the type death that's related to respiratory, I'm sure we'll see a very distinct pattern popping up around Ogeecheeton and these other neighborhoods on the west side near these industries.
Absolutely. You know, in Ogeecheeton, they can't even sit out on their porch when it's windy, those March winds, because that air, everything coming from Clock's Block, it's all over your cars, it's all over your lawn, sometimes even get into your house if you're sitting with your screen door, or you don't have a screen door, it gets in your house.
Mhm.
Clock Block started out with just a few mounds. I think maybe about 20 years ago, you would see maybe about 2 large mounds. You look now, they have maybe about 6 to 7 huge mounds
Mm,
of dust that
wow.
contain silica. So, I mean, I guess it's because they're making money.
Hmm.
And apparently, they wanted to know they wanted to know how Clock Block got over there. But you see how they did with this auto company.
Mm-hmm.
You see how they got the auto company in there? That's the same way they got in there, that Clock Block over there.
Is that how it happened? What year was that for the
Was
first?
in the 70s, in the 70s.
Mhm.
So
Not to
all the,
mention, getting back to auto, when it was action, what was it, the
Action Auto Parts.
action auto parts, they literally blocked up the street so that you couldn't even get out of the community.
Yeah.
They literally blocked it up. They went to court. There's court records of it, and they had to remove that blockage.
mm. So Alderwoman, so the someone has failed in government, be it the city or be it the county. The failure has happened because in all of these instances, there is nothing in between these industries and the residences. So we're suffering solutions. When we talk solutions, we're looking for proper buffers, be it a wall, be it foliage, be it something that will is proven that it will protect to keep those toxins on that side of the fence confined away from the residences. We're talking we need these barriers in place. We need air purification systems on the inside of some homes. We need 2-ply window panes in certain instances for these noise. We need insulation in the residences to keep out the noise and keep out the toxic air, these pollutants. So we need a fund. I mean, all of these people, we're going to have to look at this in a coordinated effort because it's bigger than Clock Block, it's bigger than the vehicle recycling plant, is bigger than the port, although they're one of the main drivers of the toxins and what's going on right now with the growth and the environmental port side intrusions. And we need all of these industries, International Paper, who dried up all of the springs throughout the west side when they dug their well, Colonial Oil, how dare them, the owners of Market. You've been a horrible community partner, but yet you're going to go and slap your name on the was supposed to be the economic engine to uplift the west side, and then there's not even a community benefit agreement in place to have a fund to do things like put up the sign, replace the sign in Ogeecheeton, and to put air purification system in some of the elderly people homes who are on oxygen. This is the help we need, and this is the help we got going to have to continue to fight for until we get it. If we're going to coexist in this corridor, we're going to have these protections in place.
Well, we see, and speaking of coexisting, Alderwoman Lanier, we see with the recent maneuvering, and we don't want to, beat a dead horse because, well, actually, this horse is not dead. When we talk about lost negotiations, when we talk about the failure of T-SPLOS, with loss and the threat that it will not be negotiated, and with T-SPLOS, with all of the money behind promoting it, there is no real intent to coexist. And what we have been seeing as of late is there is a deliberate intent. There is a deliberate intent by the powers that be to force working class, minorities, and African American people out of the city of Savannah. This is a real dynamic. And when we look at what's happening with loss negotiations, with all that we have going on in this city, what we want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, is to not be confused. What we want to say to you is do not get it twisted where these politicians are concerned. Because one thing for certain, and two or more things for sure, they are all in it together. So while the writers at Savannah Morning and talking heads on our media outlets will lead you to believe that there is tension and tension between the mayor and the chairman where this loss negotiation, that is as far from the truth as the lie itself. It simply is not true. You look at the same individuals who were advocating and marketing for teaspoons to tax you on November 8th, not knowing that law December 31st, that it was a double whammy where taxes are concerned. This is a tax and spend. This spend administration. And what's happening right now with loss negotiation is you have two giants. You have two very skilled politicians in the persons of Chester Ellis and Van Johnson, who want the public to believe that there is no way out outside of fighting for a split where these negotiations are coming. We should not be here, ladies. And going back to what I said before, they're in together. The same people, Peace Plus, $1,000 for Peace Plus, those are the same individuals who fund the campaigns of Chester Ellis and Van Johnson. Look at their campaign disclosures, and then look at the disclosures of those who contributed to marketing for T-Splosh. These are the same drivers behind this whole loss fiasco, essentially is what it is. So you cannot trust the media on this. You can't trust anything they've ever said as of late, as a matter of fact, because it's the media affiliates who are owned by the establishment who want to carve out a narrative that they want you to believe. Look at who the current public information officer is for Chatham County, for Chester Ellis. It's Sean Evans from WTOC.
When my husband Max and I started this company almost 50 years ago,
the longtime reporter for WTOC, he has a great reward. He got the bailout. You didn't, Chatham County. You didn't, City of Savannah. He got the bailout for carrying the water for the establishment for years. And his big bailout and payoff and reward is a job, 6 figures probably, no doubt, with Chatham County government. So that's how this will work. That's why Sean Evans was always motivated to get stories about me wrong, because I represented the voice of the people. That's why WTOC rarely or hardly ever has anything to say about the work of Alderwoman Lanier, tore her down when it came to the weeping time, poses strong critique and judgment toward Alderwoman Blakely and myself, because our goal, our voice, and our methods are simply to support the citizens of Savannah. So they will be untruthful. And so don't be fooled. Do not sleep on this whole notion of loss negotiation. And I know we're jumping around a little bit tonight, but this is all important. When we talk about coexisting, there is no real intent to do anything for Ogeecheeton. T-Splosh, yes, they want to tax you. They wanted to tax you on November 8th, and they wanted you to pay more on December 31st. But I say to you again, if we do not meet loss negotiations, it will be less, the least of the implication will be the cake on Chester Ellis's face or the failure of the Van Johnson administration. But the most of this, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't about pointing the blame or calling somebody out. If we do not make this agreement work for the residents of Chatham and the citizens of Savannah in particular, this will signal the single largest act of forced displacement for working class people, Black, white, and the like. Chatham County residents have already been assessed a fire fee. We had the threat of T-SPLOS. Now you want more of a percentage for loss. What's with the money grab? And ask yourself, how are your services? What are we paying all of this money for? Why are the citizens of Ogeecheeton consistently contributing to this tax base? Those are property owners in Ogeecheeton. They pay property taxes. Why is it that they have to resort to a public outcry for their voices to be heard? And so I appreciate lending my platform to you all here tonight. I see you, Mr. Kenny Law, you've just joined us. I want you to come off of mute and offer us an account and what it is. You may want to ask the people in the background to give you a minute.
Okay. Or I'll go into a quiet area. I'm here with my nieces, and they're coming home from school. I'm in California at the moment, so that's why things are a little rambunctious here. I think so. Give me a second here.
No worries. And we know that you came all the way to Savannah to join the effort at the Metropolitan Planning Commission. The residents, a little over 20 people today, including myself, Lanier, and Alderwoman Blakely, who all joined your effort, and you were there giving serious account of, and you had some interesting history, sir, in these counties, companies. I want you to lend to us some of the historical. Bring us.
Yep, I do. What I'm going to say, and I thank you very much for sharing this platform with you all. My situation and my background from the corporate world and large industrial business and banking, as well as being a resident, I grew up in Savannah. So I know Savannah from living there, and my parents and my residents and my cousins and my siblings still live there now. I've dealt with this particular junkyard growing up as my father, when we owned the property on Ogeecheeton adjacent to that property. There was another neighbor between us. He's taken over that property. He's encroaching on our property this day. So I have made a decision that I have to take legal action to file activity against that particular owner and the new business owner that is residing on that property. So we already have an issue with the DOT currently because of the road widening. There's a lawsuit that I'm involved with that. So my perspective is that not only the administration and the city manager, however this convoluted transaction got taken down to give them a license, is totally disparate treatment, bar none. And that means basically that this business owner who had no license all of a sudden gets a license. And then furthermore, the opposition and the city itself that had opposition in the meeting when we were there, and I was there in September, that he was denied any additional use. So we're going to have to file legal action. And the city, unfortunately, is going to be part of this situation because they put themselves in this situation by giving them that license. And also, we will have to take the due diligence time to secure and get a drone to review the aerial view of the activity on capsulized days to see how they are using that property outside of the zone area that they claim now that they only on that limited use permit. I don't believe them, and now nor will I trust them. Nor will I trust the leadership because that's happened at this point.
So you know more about this than I do. I'm a part of it, and I'm still trying to figure it out. At bare minimum, in as much as we have been advocating it, more specifically Alderwoman Lanier, in as much as she has been advocating for Ogeecheeton, and as the district representative, and then myself, Alderwoman Blakely, and myself, we've put in a few requests as well. At bare minimum, if they were going to extend this license to this company outside of council approval, outside of the MPC's decision to deny it, why not contact us and say, listen, Alderwomen, you don't even have to use the term, we found a backdoor way to getting this company their license, and it's going to be issued today. You might want to talk to the residents. But to have them find out the way they did, and to be a sitting alderperson for the city of Savannah, the entire city of Savannah, and for the district representative to have to actually hear this from the residents was embarrassing. And so I'm still trying to figure out in my head, Robert McCorkle contacted Bridget Liddy, the attorney, Robert McCorkle, for the auto company. Our staffer, Bridget Liddy, who works for the city of Savannah, pick up from there. And then after that, they got the license. How was that?
Well, we got notified. I got notified from my relatives there, Richard and Johnny May Law, that they got the call. They contacted me. And I heard the decision, and I made it clear to them what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to take the city and name all the plaintiffs who was involved. And I would take the position now to, as I said, watch them like a hawk. If you got to get a team, and you're going to watch how they use that entrance and how they use that property, how they're violating DOT issues and how they're violating safety and transportation safety issues, and all the things that they're misconduct. And we'll get into the city how they are disparately treating the residents that happen to be majority Black in this case. It wouldn't matter if they were white or any other color. It's disparagement treatment, period. So you're going to now bully them and tell them, oh, we got a way to give them a license. Okay. Well, they were supposed to have a hearing where so our voice could be heard. We were denied that voice. So now the city's going to have to give us some punitive damages. And they're going to have to get this neighbor who's bullied us in that community for too many years, well over 50 that I'm aware of. And they're going to have to deal with sanctions, and they're going to have to deal with the fallout of the health matters that we can determine. And we'll put a value on it. We'll get EPA involved. We'll get other outside agencies involved. And we will pick it. We will do what we have to do to bring attention to this. We'll have to go to outside other agencies, Atlanta Constitution. If the Savannah newspaper won't take it up, we'll get our voice out there. We'll get on the internet. We'll get it made known. And we will take legal action because there are laws that they cannot take advantage of the citizens the way they took advantage of them. Right. And they're assuming that we're small and we're going to just roll over and say you can't fight City Hall. Well, I prove to tell you it's different.
Well,
you are paid to Pactain Indian and having Alderman Lanier and yourself to thank you for the time and allowing us to communicate with you. There is no way the city's not at fault now. They put their hands in this cookie jar. Now they're going to have to get their hands tapped on it, and there's a certain unfortunate retribution that's going to have to come with it.
Right.
And we're not going to stop until I'm preparing to put a plan together to revitalize that property in a way that's more conducive to the city's needs and that community needs. Because along that stretch of highway there, 2516, that community is not fairly being represented or being considered.
Right.
If you got health issues, Savannah is growing rapidly. And it's about to grow even more, given you got a major industrial car maker about to come into the I-16 corridor.
Yeah, it
So
is.
if you don't think this is going to be a problem, you have a big problem now.
And it's been said that we have to now find housing for the people who are coming here from and for Hyundai. And I'm like, so we don't have to find housing for the people who already live here, who were born here, work here, who grew up here. Yeah, we kind of have it backwards. Alderwoman Lanier, I was just asking Mr. Kenny Law about, like, I still do not have an exact answer as to how did these people attain a permit to operate? Provisional permit? Was it to operate a certain part of the business that may be approved where another part is not? But it's my understanding that nothing has changed in terms of the scope of how they work.
Well, that is the mystery, Alderwoman, because I did not receive anything official from staff regarding that them being allowed to operate. So that's a mystery at this point. That we'll add to the list of mysteries in our dealings with this council and with this staff and with this government. So we just don't know. It's just like something's not right, and we all know that. But we're not in those rooms when those deals are being made. We just have to suffer the consequences of them.
No, you don't. You got to subpoena information. That's what you're going to have to do. I'm sorry to disagree with you, but you have to subpoena information.
And
I'm sorry.
Any end of this outside of the end in the capacity of support, which we have been from the very beginning. I really regret that, but I will say that if you check our record and see how and when we operate, it's always, even when the detriment of the legalities against us in name as a part of this council, we stand up wholeheartedly and take it. But the unique part about what people don't understand and get about us is that in tandem to standing up in the face of those litigious pieces against us, we still stand and stick right next to our residents, just as we are with the Weeping Time property. And so however you all proceed, just know that you have us as a voice of support, and wherever and whenever you need us, within our will, we will certainly be there for you. And to your point, Mr. Kenny Law, this invasion is happening to many in the West Chatham and Ogeechee Road corridors. One more specifically is actually to the Hopeton community and the community off of Little Neck Road. There was a on our last agenda to, let's read this here. This is a petition of Ethan Underwood, agent of and for Hopeton South Land Trust, the property owner, to zone 278.16 acres located off Little Neck Road near Ogeechee Road. They want to move from residential agriculture to residential agricultural county for this previously planned community for business. And so it's my understanding, and being contacted by former members of Garden City City Council and current members, that this petitioner actually cranks out quality products, right? They had nothing but positive things to say about his developments in the Garden City area. The problem, however, is in this particular area of Little Neck Road and the Hopeton community, they are continuously plagued by heavy trucks, heavy traffic, and similar environmental pollution as that to Ogeecheeton without any or little relief. And so these pieces come to the city of Savannah after the city is successful in annexing the property from the county. Then the residents have no county representation. And they come to the city, and we're supposed to take the position of, well, the city now owns the property. It's been annexed into the city. We don't represent you. And then continuously throughout my tenure on this council, this community has suffered. And these are majority white citizens in these areas. And so, again, we see that it's more of an elitist and a classist issue, but there has not been as much adverse implications for communities like such as Ogeecheeton has experienced. So we're happy that you all are finally, not finally, you've been speaking up and speaking out, but you're taking some next
more aggressive approach. We're going to take a more aggressive approach to this agenda.
Well,
I think that's the only way to work this out, because, you know, the way this is happening, if you don't take an aggressive approach, we got people that I grew up or my family members grew up with, they're dying or they're sick, and including my aunt, who is Richard's mom, passed away. I believe she was affected by Clark Park, and all the other contaminants that come on from having these junk cars here for decades. And the city needs to take a EPA study, and they need to know that the city now has grown to a different level. They have to be more responsible. I mean, you can't just take tax dollars from these citizens and treat them differently than you would treat any other citizen. You need to ask the question, why?
Exactly.
And if you can't validate why, and you can't substantiate the why, then you've done something mishandedly or without or potentially negligence on some level. And that's what we're going to determine here. Well, because they have gone that far. They've gone too far.
We thank you for not forgetting home, and we look forward to coming.
I'll be back. I'll be back because we got things to do in the new year. But coming up in January, well, we got things to do. I'll just leave it at that. But we got to get organized and get fashion to accomplish, with your help, Lanier, and any other state senators. We got to get this done, and we got to bring light to it, because this was not disclosed in a proper forum. This was done sidebar some kind of way.
I'm glad.
And our voice was not included in that sidebar.
Right. I'm so glad you mentioned state officials, because the city of Savannah, I think in large part due to the sensationalism that happens with our council, gets the most attention, and that attention provides cover for our county representatives and our state level representatives, as well as those who are serving us on that national stage. Forget them, Mr. and Mrs. Law.
Very simple. Yeah. Call our representatives, and we'll get them in here to help you.
Yes.
If you did this, is very simple. If you do this to the least of my brother, when you've done it unto me. So that's how this principle works.
So I want to say one thing. One of the things is that they had two. They was going to court for those two,
citations.
2 citations. They supposed to be going to court for 2 citations. Looked like they would have just went on and did these 2 citations at least, and made it look like they got through the city council, went through the city council and got the license done through the city council, but they didn't do none of that. They just overlooked the city council.
That's a great point. Did you hear that, Alderwoman Lanier? They have on the book. They have 2 books, and before even being held accountable or presenting themselves for those citations, they get a license. We have businesses, at least one who has been hanging in the balance almost 4 months. And their location actually fits the use. Their service delivery fits the use for the location that where they want to set up.
Yes.
And they have been cited, and they had to go to court.
So what I'm saying is, when I heard Van Johnson say he didn't know anything about it, the city council didn't know anything. The three aldermen who I know, they said they didn't know anything about it. Well, what I'm saying is they just disrespected y'all.
Right. Oh, that's where, yeah.
And that, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you're right, Richard. Well, I'm gonna say this as well. Well, they overlooked you. They just mistreated you as well in your authority and how they should properly inform you. But the thing is here, this city manager has a problem because he can't be city manager and starting to allow assistant managers to cut deals with people who are in sanction in violation. And
I believe
it's
it was
called
the city attorney.
Well, city attorney. That's whoever that official is. He's got some explaining to you and every alderman and the mayor.
Absolutely.
And
This is exactly what I'm saying. And the lady wanted to talk to me the other day about what they were saying about they wanted to have a meeting with us. I told them, I said, what do we need to have a meeting for you? For what?
Assistant city attorney.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so for us, it's less about us and their disrespecting our positions because we've grown accustomed to that. But I just want to say to you that nothing happens in this administration that Van Johnson doesn't know about or has his hand on. And this, if this were a district that he did not represent previous to the 16 years, I wouldn't have much to say there. But I'm going to tell you this, that I know. His hands are all over this.
Well, he showed up at the meeting as well to give his voice in opposition to this business owner.
Yeah. I told him myself. He said, I didn't know it. He said, I didn't know anything about it. I said, well, but you the mayor anyway. It fall right on your head.
Well,
let me say this, Alderwoman, and I'll be done about what's happening right now. Ogeecheeton again. Let's talk about the math. You have 4 representatives, and it takes 5 votes, and you have a mayor who was your alderman for 16 years, and now you're mayor for 3. You have an alderwoman has been in the seat for 3 years, and you have 2 alderwomen at large. There's something called political will, and it's because the staff takes their leads from the council. And if we allow certain things, or if we don't change certain things and don't stand up for certain things, and then you'll get more of the same. Anything allowed persists. And we are allowing this, and it's persisting. So if you get 4, we should all be able to put something on that agenda about what's happening and get one more person to help us support it on your behalf. You should not be underserved with that many people. We should be together, voting together on your behalf. Now, let's make sure that happens.
And to that point, Auto Millionaire, Mr. Kenny Law, what I want to say is the city manager acts at the direction of the council. The city attorney is responsive to the city manager. Despite their titles, they do not act without direction from the mayor and council or the mayor alone. Okay?
Okay.
Wow.
We have to start being big enough in this community to stop aligning ourselves with politicians to the extent that we have more regard for friendship, relationship, and kinship than we actually do harmony in community and the quality of life in our community.
And
We
rightship. Include that one too, rightship.
have to be about the business of accountability, regardless as to who's in a seat and who we went to school with, or
Correct.
who made the best potato salad at our church, or
Right.
the piano at my daughter's wedding.
Your frat brother, your sorority sister.
There you go. There you go.
Yes, we should not, I have great respect for people who have personal choice when it comes to who they deal with and who they don't. But as elected servants of this vulnerable city of Savannah, if something different does not change by way of the mindset of the electorate in the next 2 to 4 years, people who were born here, raised here, grew up here, graduated school here, got married here, had children here, they will no longer be able to
live here. That's right.
That's as simple as I put it. And with that, I want to thank each of you for joining me tonight. And know that this will not be the last time I extend my platform to you. I look forward to the future work that you are planning. And we won't just sit idly by the sidelines. When you all call, we come.
Yes.
We want to encourage you to continue. And
will do.
Go forth in the same vein in which we took our oath of office, and that is to go forth without fear, without affection, and without favor. Thank you all so much. And Alderwoman Lanier, if you could stay with me for 1 minute.
All right. Thank you very much.
We thank you.
Yes,
we
thanks
you.
to everybody.
Appreciate your service and continued your support and long success. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Alderwoman Lanier, there were a few items on our purchasing agenda, and I want to just real quick bring this to the attention. I want you all to promise me that you're going to go to the City of Savannah website and pull this up. For those of you who have the ability to print it out and share it with those who cannot log on. But we had an item on our agenda for a contract for design services for City Hall restoration project by a company called Ethos Preservation in the amount not to exceed $490,395. The services will be used to complete an investigation of existing conditions, prepare an assessment report, develop detailed restoration design, prepare a phased plan for preservation and restoration construction efforts, aid in confirmation of contractors' pricing, and perform construction administration and project closeout. Okay, so this was a capital project for the City Hall on Bay Street. Now, this $490,000 plus is not to build or develop anything. You heard me, right? It's for design and for pre-construction work. So we wanted to know where this money was coming from, because we're at the end of the year now, right?
That's right.
Gangbusters on spending. We know that we are highly sensitive in that this council has a track record of spending money we don't have on things we don't need, okay? And so we were not specifically told exactly what part of City Hall this money would be spent on in our narrative in the budget. It wasn't until we asked the question out loud at the meeting that we were told by the city manager that this was for work to be conducted in the area of the rotunda, in the center of, I guess, just under the Gold Dome, as well as chambers. And once we asked the question, we learned that the money was coming from our real estate reserve and from our general funds. The word general funds is what moved me when I saw that we had a woman petitioning at the top of the meeting to have $10,000 restored to her organization that provides support in helping people get eyeglasses, hearing aids, diabetes check, and diabetes medication, so forth and so on. This was MedBank, right? $10,000. But we fast forward in this agenda and we see $490,000 to brick and mortar versus that $10,000 for flesh and blood. Further down, we have another $960,833 request for a contract to Johnson and Lux for interior demolition of the Gamble building. Almost $1 million to demolish, to tear down stuff. Okay. And that too is a portion of those funds are coming from the general fund in real estate. Again, we were not told, what's her name? I thought she had gone away. I hadn't heard from her and I got kind of excited that with the Savannah Business Journal, what's that lady's name? She has a male name, but Lou Phelps, right? She had audacity to say something related to, do we read or we should be asking these questions in other forums or something along those lines. Her and a couple other people were chiming in. I just find their commentary comical, right? But we want to say again, Lou Phelps, we ask these questions, we present these things because we read and we're cognizant of the behaviors that mimic actions that are not consistent with being fiscally prudent. And so because we are not rubber stamps, we have a responsibility to the electorate to let them know how their tax dollars are being spent, whether it's from our general fund, our reserve, a SPLOS, whatever the case may be. People should know. Now, Alderwoman Lanier, with regard to Johnson and Lux, in some previous meetings, you were able to identify that this company is considered a DBE. And can you tell us a little bit about how that process works when these individuals, because as I stated, this one company, Johnson and Lux, this is almost $1 million they got here in item number 33. And then if we go down a little bit more, item number 36, there's a $500,000. So we got about 1.5 million so far. And then we go down a little bit more, or should I back up some? I believe they were the contractors who got the award for the
cleaning up under the Truman.
The Truman and what about the fire department? I mean, the police.
So many, Alderwoman. And let me tell you, my concern with this contract, are they legal right now? Yes, they're legal. But the true intent of the DBE program is being dishonored because we allow this. Now, in the contractor world, there are a lot of problems that need to be dealt with. Change orders need to be dealt with. And this problem of taking a majority company, putting a white female who would make them qualify as a minority because white females have been overlooked. And there was a tendency for white male contracting companies to put their wives or their daughters or female as the head on paper so they could qualify even further for those projects where they would have been scored higher because they were a DBE. So the true essence of why we created the program to get small disadvantaged business enterprises, small Black businesses, small Hispanic businesses, small white female-owned businesses, small Black female-owned businesses, to give those people, to give that population who live here, to give those dollars an opportunity to circulate within our community. So when you get a majority company to come in and you do some research like I did to find out that this was a male and his son who were both engineers, certified engineers, but they took the wife, the mom, the school teacher, and placed her at the head of this company. They got a local office space, an incubator space to so they could qualify as local. So now they're local and they're disadvantaged, and it knocks so many others out if they qualify. Now, we haven't done a good job as a city because we said we were going to take the smaller contractors and we were going to partner them into a joint venture with large contractors so they could create and build capacity so they could start qualifying to be a, a prime contractor on these contracts. We haven't done anything on that. So we haven't handheld those contractors and broken down contracts that were really big and give it to small. We haven't done that work as a city. So when we see these people come in, there's nothing we can do. When we asked to get a workshop on purchasing so we could get down into the weeds of the purchasing policies to take these biases and these systemic pieces out, then we get a little horse and a dog and pony show of this is what purchasing is and this is what we do, but we never got a chance to really get down and analyze the impact of those policies. So that's what we're dealing with companies like Johnson Lux. Are they a viable company? Yes. Can they do the job? Yes. But we're missing the intent of creating and keeping those dollars here for people who live and work and is from this area, and that's the problem. So the older woman, I think that she, oh, there you are.
Yeah, I was listening. I was actually looking for something as you were speaking. I don't know if you remember, I asked you earlier today if you were in receipt of an email, because people think that, Alderwoman Lanier, that we specialize in just ribbing havoc on these processes, when in fact, that's as far from the truth with regard to anything it is that we do. We were called upon, we were asked to serve in a manner in which we were good stewards of taxpayer dollars, in a manner in which we would assure that the city services were being administered and delivered in a way that is fair, balanced, and equitable. We were called upon to serve the citizens of Savannah with regard to making ourselves accessible. And I think both of us tonight are as tired as we are because we have exceeded the expectation of accessibility. I raise that all because when I receive information that sort of validates what it is that we're doing, it gives me such encouragement, so much so that I have become numb to criticism and judgment where my work is concerned. And so this is an email, Alderwoman Lanier, that was sent to us from Don Morgan, an individual who is concerned about our purchasing process. And once again, just like the residents of Ogeecheeton, just like the residents of the Weeping Time, the advocates of the Weeping Time, just as the citizens on our south side who had issues with the canal, who spoke up and spoke out, these are the actions that citizens have to now take. We cannot be the end all be all where your representation is concerned. At some juncture, we have to have the weight. We are just one voice and one vote. And you did a great job of explaining how that works. But it is only when the citizens rise up, mobilize, and take their rightful place in local government by engaging and demanding of us what they want, that we are truly making a difference. And so to the point that we were making during that meeting, for all of you individuals who had all of that negative stuff to say on our Facebook feed, what we did, Alderwoman Lanier, the questions we asked, it made a difference because somebody was listening. Somebody was listening with an ear who needed what we're advocating for. And what I have come to know as of late, For individuals who have an issue with our passionate advocacy, who have an issue with the fact that we show up and we speak up and speak out on behalf of our constituents, these are the individuals who quite possibly do not know what it is that we're advocating for, or they don't care about the people who we're advocating for. And so if individuals want to continue to be sanitized in the sanctity of their false security, that's all well and good. But please step aside, allow us not to be a rubber stamp for the establishment, and let us do what it is that we are trained to do, and respect the fact that we earned the right to be where we are today. And so without further ado, this person is coming to us about the police headquarters and the project and city procurement project. Dear Mayor Johnson, aldermen and alderwomen of the city of Savannah, and city manager Elder, I am writing to you all today to express my extreme concern and dissatisfaction with the current procurement process. Collins Construction Services Incorporated has been a local, reputable, and established general contractor in Savannah since 1992. We are both a woman-owned, MWBE certified, and disadvantaged business enterprise. Over the 3 years, we have performed many successful projects for the city of Savannah, including the construction of the Green Forest Landfill Administration Building, the Savannah Fire Training Facility, and the renovation of the second floor of the police precinct. Along with many other restoration and repair projects, all of these projects were competitively bid, successfully completed, and we always exceeded the MWBE goals established. While using primarily an entirely local subcontractor and supplier base. For reasons unknown and unexplained to us, the city decided several years ago to begin using the state JOC contract platform to solely award all of their construction projects to Johnson Lux Construction. While they do have a small office here in Savannah, they are certainly not a local contractor in our headquarters in Florida. I am also assuming that since they are being solely awarded the projects with no competition, that they are also not utilizing the MWBE or local preference for the projects that are being paid for by local tax revenue. Please be aware of how damaging this is to the local subcontracting base in our community and how much this is harming the local construction community. The recent award of $7.8 million for the police headquarters, being the third project that was directly awarded to Johnson & Lux, could have been a project that would have exponentially benefited the local community had there been a fair and open competition process. I applaud Alderwoman Miller Blakely for questioning the process and commenting on how often she sees the same name, but there was no response as to why this was happening or anything being done to help support and protect the local contractors of the community. I implore you on behalf of my employees, subcontractors, suppliers, and the community as a whole who are impacted by this to please go back to a fair and equal process of construction delivery methods. In a community that struggles with as much inequity as Savannah has, this was one of the most substantial ways to help improve the quality of life and opportunities for its local population. Thank you for your support and attention to this important. See, it's moments like this that make me more passionate, more determined,
Yes.
and more emphatic about how it is that we work. And so I want to encourage you all the way here as you go forth in the first district, recognizing that you are one voice and one vote, and that those 4 other votes on council make a difference to the bottom line in terms of what it has been that you have been able to achieve and that which you have prevented from achieving. And just continue to do what it is that you are doing. And I want people who are listening, you don't have to go on a letter writing campaign, but surely when it comes down to the kind of money that we are spending in this local government, as I stated before, with the level of wasteful spending of this administration, we trip over money walking in the door and flush the remaining of it down the toilet on our way out. There is enough in Savannah for everybody. You just have a voice at the table to make sure that everybody is getting their equal share. And you know what? It's not even so much equal. It's fair. Because we all pay into our tax base and we all deserve a fair share. Alderwoman, do you have anything else tonight?
No, ma'am, you've said it, and it is more about from my point of view, from where I sit in the first district, looking at the total landscape, be it politics or economics. It's all about equity, not even equality, but equity, because when you're starting from behind the starting line, when you've been underserved and underinvested in, and now everyone's saying, okay, so now let's all be equal. So we've got a lot of catching up to do, and we're going to change this poverty trajectory in the first district, being the district that most impacted by poverty and underinvestment. Then we're going to insist that we have policies in place to drive that investment, and it needs to be resident driven. And we're going to fight to stay here on this land that is our land where we live. This is where we have been working and living and dying for generations, for over 100 years. And so we're not just going to easily be pushed out of here. And although we do not have people or the political will to create policies that's going to protect us, or that's going to drive and change that trajectory and drive that investment, that's the work. So that's what we're working to do, to protect our citizens and to make sure that we can live and age and create generational wealth in place. So we thank you for the work that you do, Alderwoman, on behalf of the residents of the first district and the entire city. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to serve alongside you. We want to say to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and keep a watch out and a lookout for some special Kwanzaa Crawl announcements. Hey, it's Kwanzaa Crawl, y'all.
Yes, y'all.
Like this.